Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fans React. This is FanCast, and I believe it's episode 11. It's been a few weeks since we've done one. Lots happening at the club and that. But today on the show, we have Gary. He's my friend on Twitter. How are you doing?
I'm good, Paul. How are you?
Excellent. Yeah, as good as you can be under all these conditions, I suppose. But yeah, how have you been coping with it, all these lockdowns, tier restrictions, and all that sort of stuff? Are you been coping okay?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a nightmare on many fronts. 2020 wasn't great, but yeah, I'm not alone in that. So no point in worrying about it. It would be great if we had the football to look forward to at least take our mind off things, but that's not really worked out either. So yeah, just coping and getting through.
Yeah, excellent. It's bad enough not being able to go to the games, and I mean, obviously, I know we live down south, but you'd still go to some games, wouldn't you? So other people might recognise you from being on this channel quite regularly.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, do reactions to the games and stuff. What made you get involved with that?
I've never really used Twitter, although I've had an account for quite a few years. And it was only sort of like part of lockdown. I sort of went back to my Twitter account and just started having a lark around really and looking into it. And obviously signed up to anything Sunderland related. And about the same time as I started to do that, I'd seen that you were doing the fans reaction. And I just thought it's not something I've done before, so why not? And just picked it up from there. And I've got to say the camaraderie between the guys who do it, you know, the conversations we have and the banter, I've really enjoyed. So obviously just kept it going from there. I was a bit self-conscious about it first, and the kids do take the mick. So I've tried to keep it really reasonably low key. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it, and I think we've got a good bunch on it as well. Nice diverse group too.
Yeah, definitely. We have got a fantastic set of lads. I know what you're saying about. I mean, I remember the first time I did a YouTube video, way back in 2010. I felt nobody was watching us. Nobody was going to watch it, like unless I released it. And I remember feeling totally embarrassed of myself talking to the camera. You know what I mean?
It's taken me a few weeks to get to the stage where I'm not having to do it 2 or 3 times. And just letting you guys do your editing if there's too much, too little, or if it's no good or whatever. So yeah, I'm getting into it slowly. Yeah,
good. Well, I really do appreciate, as you know, all the lads. Appreciate all of yous coming on. So thanks for that. Yeah. Anyway, have you been a Sunderland fan since birth, or since how far can you remember back? Yeah.
Pretty much.
Have you got what's your earliest memory of being a Sunderland fan?
Oh, now you're talking. How long have we got? So I was born in Silksworth, and all my family's from Sunderland. So although I was 7 when we moved to Yorkshire, one of my earliest memories is seeing the lads bring the cup back in '73. So I would have been 4 or 5 5 I think at the time. And although it's sort of like a bit of a hazy memory, I do remember I must have been, my parents must have dressed me up in a white T-shirt the day we were playing Leeds. Because I remember neighbours basically telling me to go get changed. I wasn't allowed to wear white. And I do distinctly remember being told that we were going to walk down the hill from Silksworth to see the lads come along Durham Road with the cup. And obviously to see what, to my young mind, was thousands and thousands of people was a real moment in my life. I think that was it. I was probably totally brainwashed from that point onwards. So that's my earliest memory. But I wasn't that much into football as a kid. But like I said, my family moved me to Yorkshire when I was about 7. And we're not far from Leeds. And all the other lads were in the village were into football. And as soon as they knew I was from Sunderland and they were all Leeds fans, I was pretty much a marked man. So that was it. I got into my football, and there was only ever going to be one team for me. So stuck with them literally through thick and thin. My first couple of matches were in the 75-76 season, which was a promotion season as well. So I've got memories of being there when there was, I think, 52,000 against Bolton when we clinched promotion, and a couple of other games that season. And still going to this day. And now my youngest son's an avid supporter as well. So it's getting passed on.
Yeah, so it cost you a fortune in tickets and Sunderland tops and things like that.
It is doing that. It's a couple of years ago, he was threatening to support Man United. And I don't say anything now. If he wants anything Sunderland related, he gets it. Because I'm not taking the risk he'll support anybody else.
Yeah.
But I'm actually really, last couple of years, he's been playing for a local team, who I now coach. And it's really kind of reignited my passion for the game, because he wants to come to games with me, and then he plays on a Sunday as well. And I've actually really started to enjoy football, just for the hell of it, as awful as we've been for 4 or 5 seasons now.
Yeah, I was going to say enjoy football. It's a shame we had to be Sunderland fans to sort of kicks us in the nuts quite regularly, don't they? But,
yeah, absolutely. I keep telling him it's character building. I remember we were on holiday when we played Charlton in the playoff a couple of years ago, and the point at which they scored with seconds left, I remember apologising to him. I just said, "I'm sorry.
Yeah,
this is what we do."
Yeah,
he's stuck with it.
I've said before there should be some movement, Mackem Lives Matter, because we're all going to die younger. I think that being a Sunderland fan is terrible. I'm sure I would have had long, dark, curly hair if I'd never been a Sunderland fan. But you see, you to be honest, if we were winning everything, we probably wouldn't like it. We wouldn't be used to it, So, but how do you feel?
I can't imagine. That's what I was going to say. I can't imagine supporting anybody else, because to me, Sunderland and their ups and downs, sort of like to a degree, sort of like mirror life, don't they?
Yeah.
There's never a dull moment, and disasters always round the corner. I mean, I never thought again I'd see the day we were even in this league, much less struggling. I thought those days were gone. But anyway, I won't dwell on that for the minute.
Yeah, it definitely feels like we shouldn't be there, but we are there, and like you say, we have to deal with it. How do you think Sunderland's season overall? I mean, I think you've done a reaction about this anyway on the channel, but for the podcast, how do you think, if you could rate Sunderland's season so far, what's your thoughts on it?
Depends. There's a level I almost hope our season hasn't really got going yet, and I say that from the point of view that I still got that feeling that Johnson could turn us around. Well, let's face it, it's pretty tight. There's games not being played. There's teams with games in hand. If we get a run together, and this is me being optimistic, which is rare, we can still go up. If we got into the playoffs, we'd be the one team nobody wants to play, particularly if any fans are back in the grounds by then. And I've still got this thing about Wembley. Sooner or later, we've got to win at Wembley, purely by the law of averages. So I'm not completely disheartened yet. And I think the odd game we've had this season, like the Lincoln game, where you can see there's sufficient talent in that squad for it to get promoted. But on the other hand, with everything that's happened to us, we've had bloody COVID, wage caps, that carry on with P&G last season. It almost feels as though we're sort of like doomed to eternity in this league. But I'm still waiting for liftoff. I guess I'm still waiting for that run to come together. And I think I mentioned on the video I did for the season review. Hark back to the season under Roy Keane, where we were going absolutely nowhere. We lost on New Year's Day. I remember that game quite well. And then all of a sudden, we got a couple of decent loan signings in. Went on a run and ended up finishing as champions. So it's possible we could still do it with the right man and a couple of additions. And I don't think we're that far off having been a decent team. I think to me the weak spot is up front. We don't have goal scoring strikers, and that's what's holding us back. So it's a strange situation, isn't it? Because I'm looking ahead and wondering when our next match is even going to take place. And until we get a run of games, again, I think things are against us at the moment, but there's a lot of games to play, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always overly optimistic. I don't know why. I always think we're going to win every game. Like, I'll never ever predict a draw or a loss, and I think that's just my own downfall. It feels worse every time we get beat. I'm just so overly optimistic. And I mean, to be honest, what do you think of? I know he hasn't had much of a chance yet, but we've got Lee Johnson, and was he who you were expecting, who you wanted, and how do you think he's doing so far?
My only knowledge of Lee Johnson was that he'd been at Barnsley, and living in Yorkshire, I know quite a few Barnsley fans. And I seem to think he left them a bit high and dry when he went, and they were disappointed, and he didn't have a good name really on the back of that. And whenever he's appeared on the Quest EFL show, he's not particularly come across to me as I don't know how to describe it. Not particularly a passionate, if you like, an outgoing man. And I kind of wondered what the fuss was about. So when he was mentioned, I was kind of set against him, I suppose. You know, to me, you know, even if it was only potential, you know, bringing in Nigel Pearson and Kevin Phillips would have been the dream team for me. So I wasn't too keen on him. But having said that, having listened to him, knowing the fact that he comes along with Speakman as sporting director, you know, we clearly need a restructure and a rethink as a football club about our strategy. I've kind of come around the idea that he's probably got more going for him than I certainly gave him credit for. And so, yeah, just little things, you know. He's obviously helped bring McGeady back in to things. Yeah. That's got to be the right thing to do. And he's talking about players expressing themselves, moving the ball quicker, all the things that, to me, we weren't doing under Parkinson. And I was, as you know, Paul, really, really anti-Parkinson. And I've never been that against a manager since Jimmy Adamson, if you remember him from the 70s. So, I mean, first of all, we needed a change. Jury's a little bit out on him for me, but I don't think he's had a chance yet. So we'll see how we go.
Yeah, I think I'd never heard of him either. I didn't know anything about him when he came in, but I thought give him a shot. And he took charge of that first game when he maybe should have been watching from the stands. So I don't think any fans sort of held that against him too much. And then the next thing we know, we've got like Lincoln City, and we're playing like that. We think, Christ, we're going to get promoted. You know, that's what I was thinking. And then we played yesterday 0-0. Obviously, there was other games, but he's had COVID problems, like you've mentioned.
Yeah.
Yesterday, sort of fully fit first team, I would say, first 11 there. Northampton away, 0-0 draw. What do you think was different between then? I think the only player difference was McFadzean. He was playing against Lincoln. Why was it so different? Why was the performance so different? Is it due to this COVID thing, or is it something else?
I think as fans, we probably underestimate just how much football teams really do depend on I'm going to say confidence, not just confidence as a player, but confidence in each other and the ability to know that, you know, your left back's making a run on that side, or your midfielder's always going to be in that position, or your striker's always going to be up for it and winning headers. You know, I've only played at a lower level myself, but confidence is such a big thing, you know, and nobody likes to make mistakes, give the ball away, be made to look embarrassed on a football pitch. And the reason I say that is from memory. So we've beaten Lincoln. We've, within a couple of days, had people diagnosed with COVID. So for the last 3 weeks, we've not had players training together. So even though Johnson's been with us for, let's say, is it a month now? He's actually had them together as a group for maybe only very, very short periods of time. And, you know, I've not had COVID, you know, fingers crossed, it remains like that. But from what I know, it really does take it out of people. Now, it might be some have been affected more than others. But for me yesterday, it was almost a friendly. It was almost getting them back into it. I didn't expect a great deal. I probably expected a bit more than we got, but I'm not too disappointed with it because I think it's hard to judge players when they've not had much time working together recently, when the manager's not really had time to maybe get them doing what he wants them to do. I'm not convinced 4-4-2 is right for us. There's been a lot of messing about with formations this year. Again, I will only judge Johnson after he's had a run of games. And he's had, I mean, obviously the January transfer window is massive for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not expecting us to go out and sign Messi, but, you know, I think, you know, we all know what's needed in the team and some astute loan signings or however they get around the wage cap. It's too big an opportunity for us not to bring some fresh faces in. So I think Johnson's going to be judged on that as well. So I can put yesterday to one side, but I think by the time we get to the end of January, we'll know whether the chances of going up are realistic or not.
Yeah. So do you think the players that we've currently got? Sorry, I don't get some feedback there. The players that we've currently got, do you think they are good enough to be promoted? I know you've mentioned there that we need a striker. Is there anything else that you think we should add to the current team?
I think it's interesting talking to fans of other clubs, and I like to see fans of other clubs have watched fans react as well. Any kind of banter with the clubs. I think you get a bit more of an honest opinion, and sometimes with your own club, it's hard to be objective, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know quite a few Bradford fans, who reckon that we should stick with Parkinson come what may.
Yeah.
And as I started to say, yeah, but the football's awful and we're not doing this, we're not doing that, they'd say, yeah, but he'll get you promoted. Isn't that your priority? So it does make you think a little bit when you listen to fans of other clubs. And I've got, mates who'll say, look, you shouldn't be where you are. You've got McGeady, you've got Leadbitter. Wyke will score goals at this level. I don't see it, but they talk about the team and the quality and the potential backing. And they expect us to be doing better. And, I know quite a few Leeds fans, they had whatever it was, 2-3 seasons at this level. Sheffield Wednesday fans, I know Forest fans who've all had to suffer from it. And we're no different. But I think they look at the club, the potential, and they know that, we should be doing better than we are. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And we shouldn't forget that, at the end of the day, it's a big club. It's a big club, and however the owners achieve it, we should be fighting amongst the top 6. For us to be 11th under any circumstances is not something I can accept, really. To answer your question, yeah, I think we've got the players. I think there's enough quality in that squad, and there was last season. We were able to beat the likes of Wycombe 4-0 at home. We put in some really good performances, but God, we're inconsistent. And to me, that's our problem. We're too inconsistent. We've not got a settled way of playing. But when we do hit form, like we did against Wycombe and 1 or 2 other matches, then we look a good team, and we should be fighting for the top 2 places, in my view. Yeah,
I totally agree with that. I think any League One fan coming when fans were allowed into the stadiums, I think. Any League One fan walking at the stadium light. I mean, I know if I was a fan of any of the, not all the clubs, but most of the clubs in League One, if I was walking at the stadium light, it's clear that the club shouldn't be in that league, in my opinion. I know you can't see the stadium's everything, but I think that is a good sign of where we were and where we should be. Obviously, I've just said that's where we were. I've asked this, and most people come up with the same answer, but why do you think we ended up in League One in the first place? What was the main reason?
I'll give you 2 words: Ellison Short.
Yeah.
It was always my worry that we were being taken over by an American who had no real affinity to the Northeast, no real background in football. He was very much a Johnny-come-lately in that regard. And it was all well and good when he was pumping the money in, but I was always worried that we were a plaything, and one day he'd get bored. And I honestly believe that's exactly what happened. I've got a bit of a theory. He was always keen on, or he says he was always keen on getting Moyes in. I think he was really disheartened by losing Allardyce to England. Yeah. And I can remember going to a game, we were at home to Palace, we were 2-0 up with about 15 minutes left. We lost 3-2. And the doom and gloom around us at that point was considerable. Moyes had already said we're in a relegation scrap. We'd lost to a team we expected to be in that scrap with. The players were all over the place. Poor defending, no heart. And Moyes was already making noises about, the players not being good enough. And this was only a few months after we'd beaten Chelsea and Everton in the matter of days. And my theory is that was the beginning of the end for Ellis Short. Because I think at that point, the man just started to lose. We saw less and less of him. We went from spending at least a little bit of money and some determination to keep us up. And I think at that point, he seems to have decided he was sticking with Moyes come what may. I think there might have been a bit of an internal battle going on. Moyes wanting to spend, Short refusing to spend. And I think that was the beginning of the end. He to my mind, he allowed us to get relegated under Moyes. He appointed, I think, a very poor replacement in Grayson. He brought Coleman in, and then, the biggest suppose one of the biggest disappointments for me in the past few seasons was the January transfer window under Coleman. He's brought in a man who was a highly rated manager, and he didn't back him in that January transfer window. Now, to me, that Championship season is the worst season I've ever seen watching Sunderland. We were utterly abject week in, week out. We were awful. And it had been a Premier League team the season before, and it was quite obvious that if you didn't spend money or do something in that January transfer window, then we'd go down. And of course, to my mind, we made the team worse. We brought in the worst goalkeeper I've ever seen in a Sunderland shirt, Lee Camp. We brought in Ashley Fletcher to replace Graben, we were awful. We were absolutely, and we deserved to get relegated. And I think at that point, Short had given up. You know, people say that he left us without any debt and he wrote off 150 million. Well, it was his doing. I've got no sympathy for the man. And he left us where we are. And he sold us on to a couple of guys who, you know, like a lot of people, I felt got the club when they first came in, but have made so many mistakes, and they don't have the finances to push us on. And we are where we are. We're very much a third division club. And so I blame Ellis Short, but I also think that the men who took over, over-promised and under-delivered.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop talking now. I'm getting depressed again.
No, yeah, it's a shame. I'm going to ask you in a bit what your worst and best moments are, which there's plenty to choose from in your worst moments probably. But first of all, before I get into that question, you've just talked about the takeover there. How are you feeling about this? Well, it's still not happening yet, but the takeover of Louis Krill Dreyfus, whatever his name is.
Nice one, Kirill. I think that's going to take some getting used to.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little story. And I'm on for anecdotes, but I still believe that Stuart Donald in particular, he's not a bad bloke. And I partially say that because he helped me get tickets for the checker trade at Wembley when I got to take my son to watch Sunderland at Wembley, which was a massive deal for me. First time he'd been to Wembley. And I had a few emails backwards and forwards with people in the club about that time, and they all spoke very, very highly of him as a man who kind of got us as a club, and it got under his skin. And I think we saw that in the Netflix documentary. So I don't think I think his heart's in the right place. There comes a point at which, obviously, things don't work out. You've got to let go, and I think he's hit that point. I think it's got to the point where, you know, he's not enjoying it and he needs to get rid. For us as a club, I wouldn't quite say there needs to be a clear out, but there clearly needs to be new thinking. And I want Donald and particularly Methven to learn to accept they've made the mistakes, they've got it wrong, and the relationship with the fans has gone to such a stage where they have to back out, they have to get into the shadows. Ideally, you know, give up their shareholding, but whatever they do, stop pulling strings, because it's got to the stage where it's set club against fans, and that can never be a good thing. So in terms of the takeover, the fact that it's fresh thinking and a fresh view can only be a good thing. But a little bit like with Johnson, you know, until we get a chance to evaluate what's changed and what's happening, it's difficult to comment. I mean, if you say that the lad's 23, you know, immediately, you know, you get concerned. Again, are we just another plaything for a rich man? But given he's got some grounding in football and his family seem to have some business acumen, then I'm hopeful it's gonna work out. But again, I quoted Leeds earlier. You know, Leeds went through God knows how many owners before they finally, you know, hit gold and improved. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic. Again, you know, whatever it takes to get us out of this league at the moment, that's the focus. And if he can provide some impetus and, you know, help us do that, then I'm on board basically.
Yeah. Were you disappointed that William Story's bid didn't go through, or were you glad when? I know a lot of the fans even here is mentioning him, but are you glad that he didn't get it?
it's a difficult one because, I mean, I don't know what went on with him in Formula One. It's not a sport that interests me. You know, people with more business knowledge than I have dismissed him as, you know, as a bit of a charlatan. All I can say is he talks a good job, and you know, it doesn't take much to get us going in the Northeast. Somebody comes in and tells us that, you know, we've got potential, and, you know, tells us what we already know basically about the club. Then I think a lot of us will get on board, and I'm no different. And I think there's plenty of bullshitters in football. Sometimes the bullshitters work out, sometimes they don't. I think people were too quick to dismiss him. I will say that. The hostility he was getting on Twitter astonished me. Yeah. And I just tried on Twitter asking him direct questions, and when I got a direct answer, I started to come round to the idea that, well, he's either, you know, an actor, and he's pulling the wool over everybody's eyes, or, you know, he means what he says. So it probably worked out, you know, again, given the hostility that he didn't get it. But I don't know. I've got this theory that we need, in the Northeast, and Sunderland in particular, we need people with passion. We need people who, you know, who give us something to hang on to, you know. And I've said that about managers, you know. You know, you're talking Grayson, Moyes, Parkinson, one or two others. You know, if they're dour and uninspiring, they're not going to get the fans on board. You know, I'd rather have a bullshitter at the helm, somebody who talks us up, somebody with a bit of arrogance about them. You know, people slag off Di Canio, but, you know, nobody was slagging him off when he came in and talked us up, and we won 3-0 at St James's. So I'd rather we had people involved with the club who had passion and excitement, and he had that. So I was prepared to listen to him. Yeah. But I don't know enough about the business side to comment more.
No, I totally agree with that. I think it would have been interesting to see who his backers were, but we might never know that now anyway. Right, we'll go back to that question. Then I want to know if you can spend a short amount of time on your worst memory and give us a bit more about your best memory, because there's there's too much depressing stuff already, isn't there? So go for that, mate.
I'm going back 45 years here, so there's plenty to choose from. All right. The worst memory for me was getting relegated in 87, going down to the third level for the first time ever. I've been 19, 20 at the time. I didn't go to the Gillingham home game. I didn't want to go because I feared the worst. I'd been to the game we'd lost at home to Barnsley when it was confirmed we went into the playoffs. Even at 20 years old, I remember being just absolutely, don't know. As a kid, it felt like I was reacting. I threw my teddy out the cup. I was furious that my club could drop to that level. Couldn't believe it, and it kind of sort of broke my relationship with my club for a few years, because I didn't start going regularly again until we got back into the first division from 1990 onwards. I mean, I had other stuff going on at the time in life, and I still went to the occasional game, but I think that was the time when my love affair with the club was at its lowest ebb. And again, I can't believe we're back at that level. That's what makes it so much harder. I thought that was it. I didn't think we'd ever be there again. So that was definitely the worst moment for me. Best moment, quite an easy one for me to say. Home against Arsenal, August 2000. My eldest son, who's disabled, was one of the mascots for the day. And I didn't know about it. The family kept it secret from me. So I did what I normally did in those days. I went up on the train with a couple of mates. We got to the ground early, and I was told to put a suit on because I was in the boardroom, because my son was mascot, and he was arriving shortly after. And that's what happened. It was a complete surprise to me. And because my son's autistic, we didn't want him to lead the team out. We wanted him to follow the team out, and I had to hold his hand. I think he was about 5 at the time. And so I actually got, in a strange kind of way, to be mascot. I followed the Sunderland and Arsenal players onto the pitch. Got to meet the squad, got to meet Bob Murray. We won 1-0. Arsene Wenger got sent off. One of the best days of my life. It was absolutely amazing experience for me and for my son, and we still got the pictures. So that was definitely a happy memory. And again, if you told me at that point, I just thought we'd arrived. I thought we were back on the biggest stage, and we'd be competing like that for years to come. So that was a highlight for sure.
Yeah, it's good to know that Sunderland still can produce happy memories, even though that was a little while ago. If I was to give you £1,000, Gary, and said go to the bookies, place a bet on when Sunderland will be back in the Premiership, when would you put that? What would you put the money on? When?
Oh, that's not fair, Paul. I'd need to have a drink for a start. I keep telling my son, once we start back, once we get a bit of impetus, we could come back really quickly. I talked earlier about going out the third division in '87. We were back in the top league by 1990, albeit it's a bit of a yo-yo team. I mean, the game's changed, and it's so much to do with finance and how the club's run. But I can see it being. If you said to me we'd be back within 5 seasons, I'd be pretty content with that. And I think that's the best I could hope for. If I had to put money on it, probably a little bit longer. If I'm being truthful, maybe 6 or 7 years. That's the best I can hope for.
So if it's my £1,000, you'll put it on in 5 years. If it's your money, you'll put it on in 7.
If it's my money, I definitely wouldn't commit. To use a football cliche, I'll take every game as it comes.
That's fair enough, mate. To be honest with you, with Sunderland, that's probably the best way to be as well. Right, we'll go on to what we've got here. Oh, yeah. Is it, apart from Sunderland, or is there any other teams in the league or in any of the leagues or any other sport that you have a soft spot for?
Yeah. Well, I live in West Yorkshire, and there's quite a few non-league clubs around here. There's actually a team called Wakefield AFC who started up fairly recently and are at least partially owned by Chris Turner, our ex-goalkeeper. Oh. So I've not been down to watch them yet, but I'm going to go try and watch them first chance I get. In fact, the only 2 games I've been to this season were at a club called Ossett United, who are sort of like in level 8 of football. So I go watch them. I do like watching non-league, and I got more into non-league as I kind of lost interest in the Premier League. So if I couldn't get up to Sunderland for whatever reason, then me and my mate start to watch. I should mention he's a mag, actually. And I wouldn't watch Newcastle and he wouldn't watch Sunderland. So we started watching non-league games together. And we've been to quite a few. So, yeah, I quite watching non-league. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for the Yorkshire clubs, with the obvious exception of Leeds United. But this season, I've got to say, and last under Bielsa, I love the way they play football. And this under-15s, under-16s team that I helped coach, a lot of the lads are Leeds fans. And as soon as you mention Bielsa to them, they really want to play football and play it in the right way for me. You say Bielsa's got Leeds doing this and he's got Leeds doing that. The lads are on board. And in a strange kind of way, it's helped them become better footballers. Because they see what's happening up there and they get on board. So I've loathed Leeds United for my whole life, but I've got to be honest, if they're on telly, there's a good chance I'll end up watching them, win or lose, because they're always entertaining.
Yeah. So what's it like? Obviously, I had Tim on here, who used to be a semi-professional footballer. He had some good stories about how they used to play football and that back in the day. What's it like today, coaching the youth coming through? Do you really enjoy doing that?
I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
To be honest, yeah. I wish I'd done it earlier. I mean, I still try and play where I can. I'm in a veterans league in Leeds. The game's been cancelled tonight, but we normally play on a Sunday. And I still tell the lads, I'm in my 50s now, and any chance I've got to play football, then as far as in my mind, I might as well be 9 or 10 again. You tie up the boots, you put the Sunderland shirt, so you even put the Sunderland shirt on to go play. I'm back to being a kid, and I'll run around after a football, like I'm daft. I've always had that, and I tell the lads, keep playing as long as you can. If you fall out of love with the game, that's different. But as long as you enjoy playing it, just keep playing and love it for what it is. There's nothing else quite like it in my book. And yeah, working with the lads, and they're mostly good lads. It's kind of reignited a bit of passion. Because they're growing up as well. They're young men now, and there's a bit more. They're learning to use the physicality and not just playing kick and rush. They want to develop and learn the game, and you can kind of get in their heads a little bit. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's one of the highlights of my week. Obviously, we're not playing at the moment, but hopefully we'll resume again next weekend. And yeah, I mean, if we get Sunderland win on a Saturday afternoon and then the team win on a Sunday morning, that's the perfect weekend for me. I'll settle for that every time.
Yeah, it's good to hear, mate. It's good to hear that you're playing football as well. I'm 43 and I would struggle to run the end of the garden. I do little bits on the treadmill, but yeah, I suppose it's a good way of keeping yourself fit. Who would you say is Sunderland's best player currently, and who would you say is Sunderland's best player of all time?
Of all time, okay.
Yeah.
So in my lifetime of all time, Kevin Phillips. Say that without a shadow of a doubt. I think if it hadn't been for the fact he was up against the likes of Shearer and Andy Cole and Ian Wright at the time he was playing, he would have had more chances for England and he would have come good. I thought Phillips was extraordinary. When he was at his absolute peak, he was terrorising defences. And he wasn't the biggest bloke, but his movement and his quick thinking as well. Phillips had it up there for me. And the fact that he came through non-league meant he always appreciated, or most of the time, appreciated what he had. If Phillips had left us earlier, I think he would have continued to play at the top level for quite a while. I think he was actually underrated because he played for Sunderland. So I'd have no hesitation saying Phillips. Current team, it's McGeady all the way for me.
Yeah.
I know he's infuriating, but when he's got the ball at his feet, every team puts two men on him immediately because they know what he can do. He can turn people inside out. I loved what he did at the Checker Trade, the way he brought us back into the game. I think he's fantastic. He's one of the best footballers I've ever seen at Sunderland, with the ball at his feet.
Yeah.
And okay, he's knocking on a bit, and sometimes he makes bad decisions. But you know what? I think he's playing, and he has been playing with a team that has a lot of footballers that are inferior to him. I'm gladful he's stuck around, to be honest, because I still think he can make the difference. And do you know what? I think actually he probably kept Jack Ross in a job for a long period because he was rescuing us in the second half of that season where we lost in the playoffs. And if anything, he masked over some of the deficiencies in the team. So I'm a big fan, but yeah, he infuriates me at times as well.
Yeah, totally. I think Parkinson not playing him I just don't get why that happened in the first place. There was rumours about him bullying some of the team, but then he ended up playing in the under-23s under Parkinson. So for me, none of that really made sense. I wonder if our season would have been different if we'd kept him like the whole time playing, because I totally agree. He makes so much difference to the team. But yeah, we'll never know that. I guess there's no way of...
Even if you've just got him as an impact player, I mean, what a player to bring off the bench if it's not working out.
Yeah.
I thought we did okay last season when we had Wyke up front and Maguire and Gooch playing off him. I thought that looked a good attacking option, albeit the midfield was weak. And McGeady wasn't in that, and I was prepared to go with Parkinson at that point, but to chastise him and put him out of the squad altogether, just now looks like rank stupidity.
Yeah, definitely. Right, well, our next game anyway is Port Vale in the League Cup on the 12th. A lot of people aren't bothered about that. Me personally, I don't like just to lose any game, because I think it breeds sort of either lack of confidence or losing more games. So how do you feel about that game, and would you like to win it?
I mean, normally I'd say we should be going for that trophy, and is because you get to play at Wembley, and that's a good a reason as any. But they've not even had last year's final yet, have they? So nobody can foresee Wembley being full. I kind of feel, what's the point? I don't like having under-21 teams in there, and at the moment we've got a fixture backlog. So as far as I'm concerned, no. Yeah. They can't obviously back out, but they're very. If I was Johnson, I'd be giving the kids a chance. Let's see what the kids can do and see how it works out from there. It's very, very low on our list of priorities for me, and I don't think I'll be taking much interest, if I'm being honest. I said on the reactions yesterday, the next league game we're due to play is Wimbledon.
Yes,
in 2 weeks.
16th of January. They're in 20th place.
They've already had a draw off us in recent weeks, but they've got a COVID outbreak. So if that's confirmed, that game is questionable as well. So our next league game could be Plymouth at home, which is the following Tuesday. it's not good for us as a club. And, I do worry there's still the potential for the league to be cancelled again. And if it's cancelled, then we'll go to PPG. And we know what happened last season with that. We're out of it, aren't we?
Yeah, it's our own doing, really. I mean, I know
he
hasn't had the chance, but you need to get the points. So I'm not going to ask you for a prediction for the women. Normally I would ask you for a prediction, but there's no point because, like you say, we don't know who's going to be, if the game's going to go ahead, we don't know who's going to be playing or anything. So I'll leave the prediction. We'll leave that for some of the time. But I do have there's one more question, which I always ask at the end. It's the Sunderland Hate League table. I don't know if you've seen that before.
No, I haven't.
Right. Well, we've had 10 episodes of FanCast, so we've got 10 answers. It's basically any player, any manager, anywhere in any league, sort of, that you seriously hate. I know hate's a strong word, so if you want to say a dislike, that's fine. But who would you like to go onto this league table?
All the obvious ones. Joey Barton is an absolute given. I just think he's a horrible little man, and the better Fleetwood do, the worse it gets for me. Obviously I've seen him come to the stadium like with the mags, winding people up. I just think he's cheap. He's a cheap little man, and I can't abide him. Who else? I've got a real bee in my bonnet about Gordon Taylor, the executive of the PFA. How he can call himself a union man is beyond me. And some of the rubbish he's come out with over the years has really, really upset me. So I seriously dislike him. I don't think if he's been mentioned before. My hatred of David Moyes is right up there because, again, I think him culpable for where we are right now. I would love, I'm getting Kevin Keeganish now, I'd love for West Ham to struggle and go down under Moyes, and it upsets me when they win. And where they are in the league at the moment. It's one of the reasons I'm not watching much of the Premier League. Apart from that, who else? I mean, there's a fair few Sunderland players. I don't have a good, or ex-Sunderland players I don't have a good word for. Darren Bent, obviously. Alan Stubbs daring to come to my football club and then go on about Everton. I've got some good friends who are Everton fans, and they know how to wind me up. They just mentioned Alan Stubbs' name.
Yeah.
That goes back a few years. And have I mentioned Darren Bent?
Yeah.
Darren Bent, what was he doing? Obviously, he could have been a hero at Sunderland, and I think that was the beginning of our demise in the Premier League. We never replaced him. Yeah. Well, not until that's unfair, Jermaine Defoe. But that was the beginning of the end. We'd looked good that season at times. We've beaten Chelsea 3-0. We had Jan up front. We had Welbeck on loan. But losing Darren Bent was an absolute hammer blow to Bruce, and we never recovered from that, really.
Right. So you got to pick one out of all them people.
Got to pick one.
Yeah.
I was allowed a list.
You got to pick one. It's going to go on the list.
I've got a long list here, Paul. I've not even started on the mags. I'm going to go, just to be different, I'm going to go for Gordon Taylor.
Gordon Taylor. Definitely haven't had that.
PFA chairman. I think he's a disgrace of a man.
Gordon Taylor. Right, no worries. That'll go on the list. He isn't on the list at the minute. The list currently, joint second is three people. David Moyes, who you mentioned. Steve Evans is the other one. And Jack Rodwell. They're all joint second with one vote each. And top with all 7 other votes is Joey Barton.
It's got to be Joey Barton, yeah. Pantomime villain.
Yeah, so we've got another one we can add to the list there. So Gordon Taylor, I'll add that to the list. But yeah, that's it. I really do appreciate you being on, mate. Is there anything you want to say before we let you go?
No, not really. Just it's a cliche, but keep the faith, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, people going back years who don't know me still remember me as being, that Sunderland fan. And I went up to the ground a couple of weeks ago because I had some presents to drop off pre-Christmas. And, living in Yorkshire, I still get that excitement about Sunderland's more to me than a football team. It's going back to my hometown as well. I don't have any family left in the city at all. People have moved away and relatives have died and stuff. So to me, it's kind of like my only link with my hometown. And I think there's something to be said for us exiles living away, because it's when you go back, it's more than just going back for the football. You're going back for your kind of like for your heritage as well, not to make too much about it. So I love going back up there. And one of the cruelest things about this at the moment, it's not just not going to football. It's not actually being able to go back to Sunderland as a place. And the people up there, you know, as you'll know, you know, they're a breed apart. You know, the best people in the world live in that neck of the woods. And so, keep the faith. You know, you've got to be positive. It will come good again, because that's what we do. You know, the cycle will come round, and you know, we'll have those days again where we're beating Chelsea 4-0, and you know, that the day we were 4-0 up against half time and we absolutely dominated them. Couldn't believe what I was seeing, and you know, gives me hope that it'll come back again one day. All I want is to be able to take my lad to see Sunderland play in Europe. That would be that would be the thing for me in the future, and that kind of keeps me going. I've made that promise to him. I just need the club to deliver. That we'll do that together one day.
Yeah, hopefully, mate. I really do hope you get that. I totally agree what you're saying about going back up there, because I'm lucky if I get up there once or twice a year, even on a good year. But yeah, it's just even walking into a Greg's and hearing them talking our accent when I ask for a sausage roll. You know what I mean? It's the whole thing that you see. It does mean a lot when you get back up there. So yeah. I think you don't realise that unless you live away, do you? But,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but that's it. Anyway, I do appreciate that. I will, if he wants us to, I will leave his Twitter information down below. I really do appreciate you coming on, Gary. Thanks again, mate.
Yeah, no problem. Enjoyed it. And anybody who's watching who doesn't watch the reactions on a Saturday night, you should, because it cheers me up. It makes me realise it's not just me that's all doom and gloom and have my weekend spoilt. So for no other reason, join the merry band.
Definitely, but we're all in it together, aren't we? We might have different views sometimes, but we all sort of feel the pain when it happens with Sunderland. So, yeah, totally agree. Anyway, that is going to be it. If you've liked this FanCast or podcast, as some people like to call it, just hit the like button, leave a comment below, let us know what you liked about it, share it if you can, and of course, if you haven't done so, subscribe as well. I am on Twitter as SAFCFansReact and at Mackham Tweets if you've got any questions, or if you want to appear on an episode of Fans React where we talk about the game after. We get the likes of Gary on and they give their opinions. So yeah, you're welcome to do that as well. But that's going to be it for today. I really appreciate everybody who's watched. Thanks very much. You guys take care, and for now, we'll see you later.
Thanks, Paul.